Imagine living in America where you can't use electricity, can't take photos of your family, and your parents must completely ignore you if you break certain rules. While most Americans enjoy modern freedoms, there's a community living by certain rules so extreme they'll make you question everything about religious freedom. In this video, we are going to explore 15 Amish rules, so extreme that will leave you shocked. Rule 1. No zippers. While America zips up jackets with ease, Amish communities still use hooks, eyes, and straight pins for every piece of clothing. Picture getting dressed each morning, carefully aligning dozens of tiny hooks just to put on a coat. Children struggle with sharp pins while their peers master simple zippers. The reasoning reveals deep control. Zippers are considered too modern and convenient. Rule 2. Phone shanties. Forget phones in your home. Amish families share communal phone booths called phone shanties, positioned at property edges. These wooden structures house single telephones serving multiple families, designed to discourage outside communication. Imagine medical emergencies at midnight requiring walks across dark fields, hoping the shanty isn't occupied by another family. Shared phones come with community-enforced time limits and constant monitoring of who calls, whom, and when. This systematically isolates families from emergency services and the broader world. Rule 3. No musical instruments? Musical instruments are completely forbidden in Amish communities. No pianos for children to learn scales. No guitars for teenagers to express themselves. No drums for rhythm. Not even simple harmonicas for personal enjoyment. Children with natural musical talent must suppress their gifts entirely. Those born with perfect pitch will never develop these skills beyond basic vocal singing. Family gatherings lack the warmth of instrumental music, and religious services rely solely on unaccompanied voices, singing centuries-old hymns. The reasoning cuts to the heart of individual expression. Musical instruments create individual attention and pride, which these communities view as spiritually dangerous. Rule 4. No curtains or window decorations. Privacy, a fundamental expectation in modern American homes, simply doesn't exist in traditional Amish households. Windows remain completely bare, without curtains, blinds, or any decorative coverings. Every window offers an unobstructed view into family life, creating a fishbowl existence where neighbors can observe daily activities. Families develop elaborate strategies for changing clothes and maintaining dignity. Children learn to dress in specific rooms or corners. Women time their activities around when neighbors might be watching, and intimate family moments become public displays, whether intended or not. The constant visibility creates a surveillance state where community members monitor each other's behavior, cleanliness, and adherence to other rules throughout the day. Rule 5. No jewelry or wedding rings. Perhaps no rule strikes outsiders as more heartbreaking than the complete prohibition against wedding rings and all forms of jewelry. Couples deeply in love cannot exchange rings during their wedding ceremony, cannot wear symbols of their commitment, and cannot mark anniversaries with meaningful gifts that involve precious metals or stones. The absence of engagement rings eliminates one of modern society's most cherished traditions. Young men cannot propose with a ring. Young women cannot show off their engagement, and the entire ritual of ring shopping and selection disappears from the relationship journey. Wedding ceremonies proceed without ring exchanges, anniversaries pass without jewelry gifts, and decades of marriage lack the physical symbols that help couples remember their commitment during difficult times. Elderly couples who have been married for 50 years have no rings to show for their enduring love and dedication. Rule 6. Steel wheels only. In an era where tire safety saves countless lives, Amish farming equipment must roll on steel wheels that create hazards unimaginable to modern farmers. Tractors, cultivators, and harvesting equipment fitted with steel wheels damage roads, create dangerous vibrations, and increase accident risks exponentially. Steel wheels provide no shock absorption, causing equipment to bounce violently over uneven terrain. Operators suffer constant jarring that leads to back injuries and joint problems. The metal wheels destroy both farm roads and public highways, creating costly repairs that communities must fund. During harvest season, when timing determines the difference between profit and loss, these artificial limitations cost families their economic survival. Steel wheels throw sparks when hitting stones, creating fire risks in dry conditions. Rule 7. No photographs or images. The complete prohibition against photography eliminates one of humanity's most treasured capabilities, preserving memories of loved ones. Amish families cannot take pictures of their children's first steps, wedding days, or family gatherings. Grandparents will never see photographs of grandchildren, and children will never have visual memories of deceased relatives. Legal documentation becomes nearly impossible when identification photographs are forbidden. Driver's licenses require complex religious exemptions. Medical records lack visual documentation of conditions or treatments. Family histories disappear into oral tradition alone. Without photographs, stories of ancestors fade quickly, and connections to family heritage weaken with each generation. The rule extends to mirrors, which can only be used for functional purposes like shaving or checking for illness. Rule 8. No electricity from grid. The complete disconnection from public electrical power creates a cascade of modern life challenges that seem almost impossible to navigate. While some alternative power sources receive grudging approval after lengthy community deliberation, the prohibition against grid electricity forces families into daily struggles that most Americans cannot imagine. Medical equipment that depends on reliable electricity becomes unusable, creating life-threatening situations for family members with serious health conditions. Refrigeration limitations lead to food spoilage and increased risk of foodborne illness. During summer heat waves or winter freezes, the inability to use air conditioning or electric heating can prove fatal for elderly or vulnerable community members. Emergency situations become exponentially more dangerous when electric lighting and medical devices remain unavailable. Rule 9. No insurance. The prohibition against all forms of insurance creates financial vulnerabilities that would terrify most Americans. Health insurance, property insurance, life insurance, and disability coverage are all forbidden, leaving families completely exposed to medical bankruptcies, natural disasters, and economic catastrophes. When medical emergencies strike, communities face crushing financial burdens that can exceed their collective resources. Cancer treatments costing hundreds of thousands of dollars must be paid through community fundraising and individual contributions. Natural disasters prove especially devastating when insurance cannot cover losses. House fires, tornadoes, floods, and severe storms destroy homes and property, with no insurance company to provide rebuilding funds. Entire communities must contribute time, money, and materials to rebuild each family's losses, creating enormous financial strain on everyone. Rule 10. Marriage beard requirement. The systematic control of facial hair creates a social identification system that reduces complex human relationships to visible symbols anyone can monitor and judge. Unmarried men cannot grow beards under any circumstances, while married men must immediately begin growing full beards that they cannot shave for the rest of their lives. This creates awkward professional situations when Amish men interact with the outside world. Business meetings become complicated when clean-shaven men appear unmarried to outsiders, while heavily bearded men face assumptions and stereotypes in professional environments. The community monitoring of facial hair compliance creates constant social surveillance. Neighbors watch for the first signs of beard growth that might indicate secret marriages or relationships. Recently, married men face scrutiny if their beards don't grow quickly enough. Rule 11. No indoor plumbing. In the 21st century, when indoor plumbing represents basic human dignity and public health standards, many Amish communities still require families to use outdoor toilets regardless of weather, health conditions, or safety concerns. This creates daily hardships that most Americans would consider inhumane and dangerous. Winter bathroom trips through snow and freezing temperatures become hazardous ordeals, especially for elderly community members and young children. The risk of falls on icy paths increases injury rates, while exposure to severe weather threatens health and safety. Pregnant women face particular difficulties navigating outdoor facilities during harsh weather conditions. The health implications extend far beyond inconvenience. Inadequate sanitation increases disease transmission, particularly gastrointestinal illnesses that spread through poor hygiene conditions. Women face additional health risks during menstruation when proper facilities and privacy are unavailable. Nighttime emergencies become dangerous adventures when family members must venture outside in darkness to reach toilet facilities. Rule 12. Beards yes, mustaches no. The bewildering specificity of facial hair regulations reaches absurd levels, with the requirement that married men must maintain full beards while strictly avoiding any mustache growth. This creates a grooming challenge that defies practical sense and creates ongoing enforcement headaches for communities. Married men must carefully trim around their mouth area while allowing beard growth everywhere else on their face. This requires daily attention and precise grooming techniques that seem to contradict the supposed simplicity these communities claim to value. The maintenance becomes especially difficult for men with naturally connected facial hair growth patterns. Professional interactions become awkward when Amish men's distinctive facial hairstyles mark them as different from mainstream business and social environments. The unusual appearance can create barriers to employment, business relationships, and social integration outside their isolated communities. The historical reasoning connects mustaches to military associations and worldly vanity, while beards represent biblical manhood and marriage status. However, the arbitrary nature of this distinction reveals the controlling mindset that governs every aspect of personal appearance and choice. Community enforcement requires ongoing monitoring of facial hair compliance, with neighbors and church leaders watching for any signs of mustache growth or inappropriate beard trimming. This creates social pressure and surveillance that extends into the most personal aspects of daily grooming and appearance. The psychological impact affects men's relationship with their own appearance and identity. Rule 13. 8th grade education. Stop. Perhaps no rule creates more devastating long-term consequences than the forced termination of formal education at 8th grade or age 14, whichever comes first. This systematic destruction of intellectual development has received legal protection through the 1972 Supreme Court case Wisconsin v. Yoder. But the human cost continues to mount with each generation of artificially limited children. Brilliant students with natural academic abilities face the crushing reality that their intellectual gifts will never be developed or utilized. Children who excel in mathematics, science, literature, or critical thinking must abandon their studies just as they begin to discover their potential and passion for learning. The economic consequences follow these children throughout their lives. Without high school diplomas, college education, or professional training, they cannot compete in modern job markets or pursue careers that match their abilities and interests. Artificial educational limitations create cycles of poverty and dependence that trap families in low-wage, labor-intensive work. Medical decisions become dangerous when family members lack the scientific literacy to understand treatments, evaluate health information, or communicate effectively with healthcare providers. Financial decisions suffer when mathematical and analytical skills remain underdeveloped. Civic participation becomes impossible when critical thinking and information literacy are systematically suppressed. The emotional trauma of forced educational termination affects children's self-worth and confidence. Students who love learning must accept that their curiosity and intellectual growth are less important than community conformity. Rule 14. Rumspringa. Controlled freedom. The period known as Rumspringa presents itself as teenage freedom to explore the outside world before choosing adult commitment to Amish life. However, this apparent liberty functions as sophisticated psychological manipulation designed to make the outside world appear overwhelming, dangerous, and impossible to navigate successfully. Communities carefully orchestrate Rumspringa experiences to ensure maximum culture shock and minimum genuine opportunity for success. Teenagers with 8th grade educations face modern world challenges without adequate preparation, language skills, or cultural knowledge to thrive independently. This systematic setup for failure makes returning to the familiar community seem like the only reasonable choice. Family participation in the psychological pressure creates emotional manipulation that exploits natural desires for parental approval and family connection. Parents express disappointment and concern about outside world dangers while simultaneously claiming to support their teenagers' freedom to choose. This double message creates guilt and confusion that undermines genuine decision making. Limited education becomes a weapon during Rumspringa when teenagers cannot understand financial systems, legal requirements, educational opportunities, or career paths in the modern world. Their artificial ignorance makes every outside world interaction seem complicated and threatening. Community members monitor Rumspringa activities and report back to families and church leaders, ensuring that no teenager's exploration remains private or authentic. The surveillance network extends into the outside world, maintaining community control even during supposed freedom periods.